Good afternoon. It's a Sunday and I'm in the workshop doing a load of work, and yeah, things have been pretty manic at the moment. So the last thing I need to be doing really is starting another one of my own projects, because I need to catch up with a load of client work. But never mind. Here we have a pair of Spendor BC1 cabinets, which was the original design of this woofer HF1300 Coles Super Tweeter layout that then other people copied afterwards, like the B&W DM4 uses their own polypropylene woofer HF1300 and a Coles Super Tweeter. The Rogers LS36 was kind of a copy of this with its own woofer HF1300, and that had the HF2000 tweeter as a super tweeter. Then you had the Studio One, which very similar to the LS36, and then also you had the export monitor, which again had a polypropylene woofer, or was it Bextrine? Can't remember, but again the HF1300, and on top a KEF T27 tweeter. So yeah, I found an original pair of BC1 cabinets online for 40 quid, and I had to go and pick them up, but that wasn't a problem. The reason they caught my eye is because they're just in really good condition. They need sanding back and oiling again. The front baffle needs to be sanded back and resprayed, but all the corners are nice and sharp. The veneer is all there. God knows what it's been varnished with. It's horrible, but that'll all flatten back, and the backs are nice as well. Again, this is the Bertic Bulch ply, I think it is. So this will all come up really nicely. The other reason for doing this is recently I've been going through all my stock of drivers and bits and pieces that I've got, and I found I had a very nice pair of 16 ohm HF 1300 tweeters, and these would have had the 16 ohm tweeters in them. They're in the square bezel, the sort of bezel you'd find on like a Ditton 25, that sort of thing. But I quite like these in that bezel. So originally the BC1 had the 1300 mounted from behind. I'm not going to push it all the way through. So this protrudes through the cutout, and I'm not a fan of the look of that, in all honesty. And then also, rather than an HF2000 or a KEF T27, they had the Coles Super Tweeter at the top. The Coles Super Tweeter is a very good tweeter, 16 ohm I think, but it's not what I want to use in this. So you know, you can still buy the Coles Super Tweeter. Falcon I think have made their own version of it. So yeah, I don't want to remount that. I'm not using the Coles Super Tweeter. Now, the original woofers that go in these, I've repaired no end of them. I've repaired, most of the time they suffer from cone sag, so they need a bit of realignment, but the main culprit is the tinsel wires or lead wires coming from the voice coil to the connections. They just fracture, and whilst they look intact, they have a piece of cotton inside them that holds them all together. They break, often at the terminals, but sometimes where the tinsel wire goes through the bobbin to pick up the voice coil. And if that's happened, it can be really difficult to repair them. You really have to dismantle the woofer and then try and solder back onto the voice coil. I've done it a few times, and I did a pair recently, so I'll stick a picture of that in now. Yeah, but 9 times out of 10 it's broken off by the terminal, so they're fairly easy to replace, but I've repaired a load of them. I'm not going to try and find a pair of those for these. What I thought I would do is find something that would work as a mid-bass driver. To my knowledge, hasn't really been fitted into these before and might work well. And for that, I have picked a pair of Kef B200s. So I think these are going to work quite nicely. They do have a bit of a quack to them that they're famous for in the upper mid-range, but the HF 1300 can play reasonably low, so I'm hoping I can integrate these nicely in here. That will fit behind. These studs are wrong, so I need to change those, but that'll fit behind like the original, and I think that's going to be a really good substitute. So my square HF 1300s are going in here. That's what we're going to use. I'm not going to push that all the way in because ultimately I've got to take this out. And like I say, originally they would have had the Coles super tweeter, which I haven't got. And the crossover I'm going to build for this, I'm going to base on probably the Studio One or the export monitor that would use a 4 ohm tweeter, or super tweeter I should say, with a 16 ohm HF 1300. So I have quite a lot of these peerless 4 ohm Neo motor half-inch tweeters. I've measured these and they are perfect for a super tweeter. So this is what I'm going to use, because the HF 1300 naturally rolls off at 13 kilohertz, and then our super tweeter picks up. So there's a few things I could do. I could modify this to fit into the bezel of the Coles super tweeter that I have. I mean, the holes almost line up, but what I thought would be better is to get some more of these square bezels and mount that tweeter in these. So I've got to open this hole up, but we'll end up with those two together like that, which I think will look pretty cool. And then with our B200 in there, I'm hoping the crossover can be, like I say, almost a copy of the Studio One, for example, with some tweaks to modify the super tweeter. So obviously I'll measure and adjust that to suit. I'll start by doing a clone crossover and then see how that works out, and then obviously integrate the B200 with this tweeter arrangement as well. So yeah, that's a little project I've got, which I'm going to do on the back burner. So part one is just kind of a look at it and an introduction, really. Make these look nice. I haven't got the covers for them, so I need to make new covers. That's not a problem. I've got some pegs as well that will fit into here, but I'm not too sure yet whether I will, like the LS35A, go round it with Velcro, because that helps with these edges, just gets rid of some of the edge diffraction, which can cause a number of issues, phase issues and things like that, which can make them a bit difficult to listen to sometimes. But yeah, so these are a 2 cubic foot box. They're literally a foot by 2 foot. So yeah, there we go. Anyway, I've probably rambled on enough now. Part two, we'll get the cabinets done. I need to find another square bezel. I don't have another, so I'm on the hunt for that. And then get the baffles done, get the drivers mounted. What I'll probably do then is just measure them in the box on the baffle and see what they look like on their own, and then we can go from there. Anyway, yeah, just a quick one. Plenty of stuff coming up. I've got a bucket load of sound clips I took of various speakers recently that I need to get out there. People have been asking for those, what I might do is just put them all on one video and then, you know, introduce each speaker and track it as we go along. That way you can probably get a bit of a comparison as well. So yeah, anyway, there we go. Cheers.